Broadcasting from beautiful, tropical Vero Beach, Florida, it's Money Nation with Ed Gardner.
Good morning and welcome to Money Nation. Today's special guest is Dmitry Feld. Dmitry grew up in the Soviet Union and grew up in Kyiv and then became a luger. And for the last 35 years has been the coach for the USA Luge in Lake Placid, New York. Dmitry, welcome to Money Nation.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be at Money Nation.
Tell us about growing up in Kyiv. We got all the news going on right now. When you grew up in there, tell us a little bit about that and tell us how you eventually got into the sport of luge.
You know, I came out from the family of Soviet military. My dad was Soviet Air Force, and he served in Soviet Army over 20 years. He participated and was at the World War II. He started defending Kyiv, and then he went all the way to Berlin. So being a military brat, as they say in America, we actually end up in what's now Russia, peninsula of Kamchatka, way east. If you look from Alaska across the Barents Sea, you could see Kamchatka. It's one of the largest Soviet Air Force bases was there and now too. So when Russian planes flying into Alaska, they come from my hometown. So when I was a little kid, about 3 years old, my family was moved from Kamchatka to serve in Lithuania, what's now Lithuania. So I lived a little bit in the capital city of Lithuania, Vilnius. And then my father and my mom, who was from outside Kyiv, and my grandmother lived in Kyiv, they decided to move to Kyiv. And that's how I ended up at the age about between 3 and 4. It's hard to remember. But my mother said that I actually took the road from Kamchatka to Vilnius pretty good, which was 6,000 miles, 2 weeks train, boat. But she said I was a trooper. So I ended up in Kyiv. You know, during Soviet Union, main language was Russian. That's what you study at school. You talk Russian. It was very hard. Unless you live in a small villages or western part of Ukraine, Ukrainian was not very popular language as a official language. So we all spoke Russian. But as a little kid, my mom took me to the village where she grew up and basically dumped me there for my relatives. And they spoke only Ukrainian, and that's how I learned Ukrainian. Of course, not forgot, but when you don't practice a lot, so when I talk to my Ukrainian friends from Ukraine, I always apologize. But they nice guys or girls, they said, oh, you have perfect Ukrainian, don't be ashamed. So I do, in my family, I'm only one who actually speaks fairly decent Ukrainian, and I am really happy to speak and practice my Ukrainian. So when I live in Soviet Union, a lot of kids involved with sports. I played soccer a little bit, but I was small size, and my coach put me as a defenseman. And the big guys, when we practiced, the big guys always kicked me in the shin and step on me if I fall down. So after a while, I went to him. I was all black and blue. I went to him and I said, hey, coach, can I play middle field? And he said, no, you're good in defense. I said, that's it, I quit. So I left. I quit soccer. Well, my brother is a very good soccer player, actually. He never played like professionally, but on amateur level in America, he played very good. I'm proud of him. And then one day I read Ukrainian sport newspaper, and I saw a picture of the luge guy laying down on a sled on a luge. And it says that in Ukraine, in Kyiv, they have a luge club. And, they are pretty good nationally ranked. Apparently, it's been around for a while. And so I called newspaper, actually. I liked the picture. I called newspaper and said, hey, do you have who did you interview? How can I find them? And they actually was very nice. They gave me name of the coach and club in Kyiv. And name of the coach was Klim Gatker. He was one of the best coaches in Soviet Union produced. He was great. Luge athlete, came from St. Petersburg or Leningrad before. So I called him. I said, hey, I see this picture, crazy people going down 80 miles an hour. I said, I like speed, but I never done it. And, Ukraine is a fairly warm weather, state. And I said, where do you guys slide? And he said, well, we travel to Siberia or Ural Mountains where it's cold in the wintertime. and they had maybe 3 or 4 man-made, not artificial luge tracks. I said, "Oh, what should I do?" He said, "Well," I called him, it was like June. He said, "Oh, come over. We have luge training with wheels on it." And that's how I learned luge sliding on the sled with wheels on it.
Wow.
And I was afraid to tell my mother that I'm going to try that sport. So I told her that I play table tennis. And but one day in about November, December, I come home with the luge sled. And she said, "What is that?" I said, "Well, Mom, I'd like to do luge." And she said, "Are you crazy? Nobody in our family done anything like this. You know, we are military guys. We are smart. What's the matter with you?" I said, "Well, I guess I'm a black sheep of the family." And that's how I started sport of luge. I travel with Klim, with my club. It's called Zenit. To travel to Siberia and Ural Mountain, and that's where I start my luge career. At that time, you know, in Soviet Union, like in current Russia or in East Germany, as you know, or any other countries of Soviet bloc like China, sport is a very political motivation for them to show to the world that they're the best in the world. So because luge was Olympic sport, Soviets was putting a lot of money in it. So when I got into luge, it was unbelievable competition, very fierce competition. So in my case, I got a couple of maybe unfortunate accidents in luge, and my first double partner unfortunately died as a young man. I went to another double partner, and then he got sick. So yeah, I slid mostly singles, did some doubles. I like it. And then at one point, my coach Klim came to me and says, "Hey, you know what? Seems like you have connections with the younger kids. I'd like you to become a coach of the junior team in our club. It seems like you connected." And he said, "You'll be traveling with me too extensively. I need your help as a trainer, physical trainer, because I learned quite a lot that Soviet system, because Klim was one of the best coaches." And that's how I started luge. I got in it, but I always want to be free man. I always admire United States or free world. You know, it was behind Iron Curtain. We didn't really know what it is, but since I was a young kid, later I was listening Voice of America and Free Europe in Russian, and it gave me a lot of opportunity kind of to listen what's going on there. And one day I went, of course, one day they called me to Soviet Army. I gotta go and serve the Communist Party of Soviet Union. And because of that, I actually end up not far away from where I was born, next to the China border. So I tell you, for my young life in Soviet Union, I traveled quite extensively through the whole Soviet Union. I saw some spots that the normal human being would be afraid to go, including the base. Including base, I was serving Soviet Union. And correlation is very interesting with current situation in Ukraine. I know you want me to talk later, but I was a tanker. I was sitting in the tank. It was 4 people in the tank, and I learned from day one, when somebody shoot at that tank, your chances to die very high. And now when I watch Ukraine fighting invaders from Russia, Putin's army, as I call them, I see how those young Russian soldiers dying in those tanks, and my heart just goes crazy, because they put him as a meat grinder. That tank, in normal situation, will not protect you, because right now they have technology with javelin, person right through the tank, all kind of shoulder to shoulder missiles. I feel so bad for them, but of course, I wasn't one who told them go and invade Ukraine. So unfortunately, they died. They will die unless Russian army go back home. And because of them, Ukrainian people die. But anyhow, so I served my 2 years in army, and I came home. I started doing luge again. I helped Klim. And then one day, I told my mother, I want to get the hell out from Soviet Union. I had enough. And we was very fortunate that at that time, United States and Soviet Union was making moves to kind of have better relationship. And Soviet Union at that time needed a lot of wheat to produce bread, because they wasn't really efficient on this, and other stuff, frozen chicken, wheat, all kind of stuff. And so United States says, if you allowed every year 30,000 people to live, including a lot of Jewish people who wants to go to Israel, and a lot of other people who might didn't want to go to Israel, want to go free like I wanted. And that's how I end up in that group of 30,000 people. In 1979, I took train from Kiev with my mother. And, my parents was divorced, and my father was, when he retired from Soviet Army, he was a retired officer. And when I went and I told him that I'm going to leave, he was having a really hard time. Not to the point that he would obstruct me, but he was having a hard time. But I told him, Papa, you got to do it. And I need paper. I need for him to sign that I don't owe him anything. That's how Soviet Union called us that time. Wow. So I was very fortunate to,
hard to get one of the 30,000 spots? Was that hard to get one of those spots?
Of course, you have to pay a lot of money under the table. Of course, it was very hard for my luck and my family luck. My mom, she knew people at the Soviet Union department who was in charge of immigration, and they told her, yeah, that helps. They said, that's what's going to cost you. After you leave this room, we don't know who you are, and that's how it happened. We paid everything we had. Me and my mother left, and when we was crossing border from Soviet Union, never forget, to Austria, they changed the train, and the Austrian border police came, and first things they did, they show us victory, and I knew what it was. Right. And they start all saying, you free, smile. It was not smiling. It was like, it was like
wow.
balloons. We was afraid to smile. In Soviet Union, if you smile, they think you crazy. Nobody smiled in those days, even now. Yeah. And Austrian guys say, smile, you're free. And we got to Austria. And in Austria, they separate us. Lots of people went to Israel. And then other people like me and my mom, we went to United States. They moved us after about 5 days to Italy. And in Italy, we stayed. It was a beautiful country. And for the first time, I ate yogurt, pizza,
wow,
calamari, tuna.
Nice.
And it was free country. It was no more communist party tell you what to do. I didn't know what to do. I was bored. There was no communist tell me you have to walk this, you gotta do this, do that. It was great. I just sit by the Mediterranean Sea with my mama. I went to work. I never forget.
Did you do any luge work with the Italian team at all when you were there, or no?
Well, first of all, because I live in the Soviet Union, we never had like open relationship with Italian luge team, so I did not know them directly, but I knew a guy by the name Paul Gardner. I knew his name. He was Olympic medalist. But when I live in Italy, of course, I was in the South Italy, and the luge guys, they all in the North. They are next to the Austrian border, so it was very hard for me to travel because I did not know. But later, in my luge coaching career, I met Paul Gardner many times. We became good friends. He was unbelievable carabiniere, which is military police. He was unbelievable hunter, a really smart, nice, awesome luger. When I got to Italy, I just want to be free. I want to go to America. That's all I care. I didn't think about luge. I didn't know what's going to happen. We had no friends, no family. And at that time, we didn't know if, my father never told us that he had family in America a long time ago, but he never told me anything till I got to New York City. And then we ended up in Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn. That's where you started off, in Brooklyn? How long were you there?
I ended up in Brooklyn. Yes, I ended up in Brooklyn, started working. I ended up living in Puerto Rican neighborhood, so I learned que pasa, mucho trabajo, poco dinero, very quick. Really nice people. I remember me and my mom rent first apartment. It was bad, but we had shower and toilet, and the owner of the building gave us old color TV. We never had color TV. It was the cheap color TV, but when I toured, first of all, it was no communist party tell me what to do. It was somebody on TV dancing, Saturday Night Live, and I need to learn English. I need to learn English instead of course, knowing Russian and Spanish, and that's what I really wanted. I said myself, if I come to America, I want to be American with English. In those neighborhoods was a lot of Russian language and Spanish language, and then I went and I worked different jobs. I did mostly construction, and actually I worked with a bunch of guys from Croatia, very nice people. And I learned, well, I didn't learn, I could understand what they're saying because it's Slavic language. I understood every word they said because I knew Ukrainian. So I worked for them, and then one day I ended up working with the group of people who was teachers at the dog grooming and training school. And I ended up working there actually because I always loved dogs and cats. And one day I find out it was that type of school, and I worked with really nice people. I told them about luge, and they said, hey, why don't we write a letter to United States Olympic Committee? We wrote a letter. I already spoke some English, good, and they responded to me saying, well, here is the Us Luge Association. It was just formed in 1980 because before it was AAU. Right. And they said, write them a letter. So I wrote them a letter in 81, I think. And they said, well, it was a very small organization. It was one secretary, one president, no money. They said, well, unfortunately, you can't luge for USA because you have no citizenship, which was not correct, actually. With green card, I could race for the USA. I had green card, of course, legal. I was legal. And I said, okay. I said, look, I know a lot about luge. Soviet Union just won Olympic medal in Lake Placid. It was 1980 Winter Olympic Games. Soviet girls won gold and bronze. I knew them too. And I said, I know a lot. I said, I'd like to volunteer for you. And they're like, of course, you don't want any money, right? I was like, no, I just want to volunteer. And that's how I started. In 1982, I started volunteering for luge guys and girls who live around New York City. It was just enough of them. It was like 5 or 6. And I become basically a strength and conditioning coach. And I met really nice USA luge men and women. And I trained them and I work with them. And then I travel to Lake Placid, start coaching on the track, practice my English. One of the managers on the team, Bob Hughes, great guy, he told me, look, I like your enthusiasm. I like what you know, but keep talking English. I said, well, how do I learn? He said, get American girlfriend. And that was a good idea. I got 3 of them. Girlfriend. That worked well, right? I got 3 of them in 1 month. Yes, I got 3 of them. It was great. I started talking English a lot. I told them I love them. They said they love me. Then they kicked me out. They said they were poor Ukrainian immigrants. They don't want it. They want some money. Oh, okay, so anyhow, I learned English enough, and then in 1984, they offered me a job as a development coach.
Beautiful.
And I moved to Lake Placid, and they said, we can pay you, $4 an hour. Would you like the job? I said, absolutely.
And that was the beginning of that. Hey, Dmitry, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to Money Nation. Remember, listeners, any questions at all, you can always feel free to send me an email at edgardner@cutterco.com, or you can call 518-255-8854. Any questions you have at all, feel free to call. We'll be right back.
All opinions expressed by Ed Gardner and or his guests on the Money Nation show are solely Ed Gardner's and or his guests' opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Cutter & Company or any of their affiliates. You should not treat any opinion expressed by Ed Gardner and or guests as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or follow a particular strategy, but only in as an expression of their opinion. Ed Gardner's and his guests' opinions are based on information he considers reliable, but neither Cutter & Company nor affiliates and or subsidies warrant its completeness or accuracy, and it should not be relied upon as such. Always talk to your financial advisor before making such decisions.
Welcome back to Money Nation. You were here today with Dmitry Feld from USA Luge. Dmitry, so in 84, you moved to Lake Placid. Tell us a little bit about coaching luge and some of the Olympics.
For my fortune, when I moved to Lake Placid, luge was in America was at that very low stage, just start kind of moving up. So they hired me as a development coach, and for the first camp, I had children 11 years old and 40 years old, men and women. So I went back to US Luge. I coached them for a while, but I said, it's not going to work that way because it's 2 different groups. We need to create junior group because we're going to invest in those young kids, and that's who's going to be Olympic medalists. And said I was right. So in 85, they made me as a junior national team coach and manager. And that's where I spend most of my time, working with the upcoming generation of Olympic athletes. I work as a junior national team coach till 1993. And from that group came out quite a few Olympians, Olympic medalists like Gordy Shear, Chris Thorpe, Mark Grimet, Brian Martin, some other ones. And it was very cool. And then they changed they said, look, you've done everything, luge very well. We want you to work mostly with like a special event guy. We want you to do World Cups. We want you to talk to sponsors, but at the same time, we want you to recruit little kids. So for maybe another 10 years, I was in charge with the so-called USA Luge Sliders. So we go across the country. Remember I told you I started with wheel sled? That's how we do. We recruit kids across the country with wheels, and that's what I did for another 10 years, doing both jobs. In the summertime, recruiting kids and working with sponsors, and then when winter comes, I work with sponsors, taking them to the World Cups, make sure they're all happy, and that's what I basically continue to do it.
You're the social guy. How's the team look now?
We had change of guards because we in 2018 in Beijing, Korea, we did very good. We won silver medal in men. We finished 4 in doubles, 4 in team competition. We didn't win the medal, but we had very solid, very competitive team. We won silver medal in men. We was very happy. And then after that, there was change of guards. Our double team left, most experienced one. We have to start putting together another one, got young guys. Yeah, a lot of young girls kind of moved in. So Olympic Games in China, of course, was really weird games because of the COVID, was very restrictive. I talked to I was not allowed to go. Nobody went there except the national team because tennis wasn't allowed visitors or additional staff. And a lot of them says it felt like a just big international competition. They did best they can. Unfortunately, we didn't win any medals. Right. But like in any sport, even if you, can win the medals all the time, sometimes you don't win them. You got to learn how to win, and sometimes don't win. Yeah. Like Tom Brady, he won Super Bowl, and he didn't win Super Bowl. Now he come back to win Super Bowl again. So we're gonna go and win one day again. Next Olympic Games is gonna be in Italy. That's when our young generation should blossom and get enough experience. I think they'll do good.
Are you going to go to Italy for those games?
Of course. Italy, one of my favorite countries. I gotta go there.
I want to come. I want to go watch the Luge with you in Italy.
You got it. We'll take you, no problem, and we'll do Money Nation right from Milano.
There we go, right from the Olympic venue. On a more serious note, Dmitry, tell me about your friends. You got a lot of friends who are in Kiev right now, going through this awful time. You've been talking to them about this. Tell me about some of your friends and what's going on and the pain they're going through.
Well, I have a lot of friends in Ukraine and in Russia, of course, because I live in both basically groups. But I grew up in Kiev. I speak Ukrainian. I have very close. My Luge team, all in Kiev. They retired, some of them. Fortunately, my coach Klim came to United States. I brought him here in 1992 with his wife, 2 girls. I grew up. Klim was 4-time USA Olympic Luge team coach. But of course, a lot of our friends and families, I don't have like direct families, but most of my friends, formerly, Ukrainian Luge team. So when that war started, I had bad feelings about this right before that. And I saw how passionately Zelensky, president of Ukraine, was asking West to help, but I think West, of course, slept at the wheel. Our president slept at the wheel. Nobody thought that Putin will attack, but he knew how to West react. West didn't do anything when they attacked Georgia in 2008, where my friend fought that war, and a lot of Georgian young men died, and they grabbed territory from Georgians. Then 2014, they took Crimea, which was part of Ukraine legally. Well, my family mostly here, but all my friends from the Luge team and through my life, all in Kiev, a lot of them in Kiev. And from day one, a lot of them experienced a lot of attacks, bombardment, very tough situations. Basically, if you're young, if you're 18 to 60 years old, you have to serve in Ukrainian army or the civil defense. So you can't leave the town. So some of my friends have younger kids or younger age, so they all have to be in Kiev. And they did not know how advanced Russian army gonna be or how Ukrainian gonna defend. So some of them waited till the last moment to leave, but one of my former double partner, Valery, he was in his house, and at night, Ukrainian army came and outside Kiev, very close. They came and said, Valery, we're very sorry. If you don't leave tonight, we're gonna blow up the bridge. So the Russian army will have no access from this direction to Kiev. So he packed everything, took his wife, dog, got in the car, left everything, their house, everything. Just got passports, a little bit of money, credit card. For his fortune, his son been living in Poland for the last 8 years, working in Poland. So he had no problem go to Krakow, and he's staying with his son. I talked to him recently. And then my other friend, you know, her older son with wife and 2 kids came out from Kiev and went on the countryside. They thought it'll be safer, but apparently it's not, because Putin's army bombarding and attacking everything. And at one point, that little village got occupied by Russian army, and they came to his house, took his cell phone number, took his cell phone, says no more communicating with Ukraine. You sit tight, or, you know, don't do any stupid moves or we'll kill you. So he's now under occupation. He has a wife and 2 young kids, and his mom, who's my friend from Luge team, with her younger son, they were able to leave, and they are in the western part of Ukraine, and now a city called Ivano-Frankivsk. And my other friends from Ukrainian Luge team, they all in city called Lviv. They way in the west. They are right next to the border with Poland, and they are members of the civil defense force. So they're all getting ready.
They have to stay. They have to stay and fight. Then they can't leave, right?
Stay and fight. Not only that, they said that 60,000 Ukrainian men and women who live in Europe came back. And now they also said today, I saw on TV, it was confirmation what I already knew it. They have between 16 and 20,000 foreign fighters who's assisting Ukrainian army. Some of them in the front line, lots of Americans, lots of Georgians, 3,000 Georgian people there fighting in 3 battalion. They have every nationality there, Canadians. I mean, you name it, they got it. So they all.
Didn't you say there was an Israeli force of special operations or something?
Yeah, they just arrived. I think like 3-4 days ago. 200 retired special force Israeli volunteers just arrived to Ukraine, and many other nationalities fighting on their side. Swedes. I saw today on TV guy from Sweden who was a medic. And you know, they came for Ukraine to keep Ukraine free, modern, and away from that crazy man Putin.
What do you think's going to happen? And no one can tell, but you grew up in Russia. What do you think? Do you think is he crazy? Is he going to stop? What do you think is going to happen? What would be your best guess? You told me he was a KGB guy before, so yeah. He acts a certain way, right?
Yeah, well, you know, also he controls the media and propaganda in Russia. So when I grew up, it was Soviet propaganda. Now it's Putin propaganda. All government, all radio stations, television stations, it was all government controlled who provide the information to all those stations. So basically you have to say whatever government tell you. They did have in Moscow a radio station called Rain, or in Russian Dozh. There was independent, and they kept them around, but they also kind of walked the fine line. You know, Putin, unfortunately, West, as I maybe mentioned to you, unfortunately, West let him get away with a lot of stuff that he already done, crime against Georgian people, against when he attacked Crimea and took it, and then when he and rebels took big chunk of eastern Ukraine, nobody did anything. So it's really no pattern from the Western world, see how they can control Putin. And they were trying to be nice to him, actually. After he said, I'm going to invade Ukraine, they were like, oh, Vladimir, you know, we like your caviar, black caviar, low vodka. Please don't do it. But it didn't work. And, you know, it was his propaganda. He told Russian people, hey, you know why I'm going to Ukraine? Ukraine belonged to us. Historically, we almost the same people. Plus, right now, head of the Ukrainian government, president, he's a Nazi. It's a nationalist people there, a Nazi. The guy Nazi, Zelensky, president, he's Jewish, and during World War II, his family got killed in Babi Yar. So, but because he controlled the media, controlled the press, a lot of Russian people like, oh, okay, wow, you know, we have Nazi right next to us. So it's really, it is war of propaganda. Now, I know a lot of Russian people who I'm very proud to know and who don't like him, and they don't believe him, and they for Ukrainian people, but because it's controlled by KGB, if you they have a law, if you against the government and you go protest, you might get to jail between 3 and 15 years, hard labor. So you have to have a lot of guts to do that. A lot of people done it, but it's not in Russia yet like a huge, like during first time when Yeltsin came to power, it was hundreds of thousands of people on the streets. So Putin underestimated only one thing. As a KGB guy, he's the guy who never kind of give up till he kill you. And he's done this in Europe, but he underestimated the resilience of Ukrainian people. Because it's nothing personal against Russian people, it's the personal against dictatorship. They want to be free. And they want to be protected. They'd like to be part of NATO, but even if they're not part of NATO, if they're modern army, they will not surrender. You see what's happening now. They fight like crazy. Civil defense force, army, unless he leveled that country down like he did with Syria, he ain't gonna win. He's not winning already. He's losing it. He knows that. Everybody knows it. They're just brutal. But they're not gonna break Ukrainian people unless they level off beautiful city of Kyiv. I grew up, 5th century. I mean, if they're gonna get that brutal, but now Europe united mostly. They put a lot of sanction on him. They gave Ukrainians javelins, Stinger missile, and a lot of good stuff. They allowed foreign fighters to come in. Ukrainians very psyched up to fight for their country, and he underestimated. He thought he's gonna come there, everybody gonna welcome him, but they welcome him and his army with grenade and the plane, and they don't want them. They don't have nothing against Russian people. They want to be part of the Ukraine. Now, if West does not help Ukraine, he will be knocking on the door through Poland, Romania, and then they have the little Republic Moldova, who's not European Union, not NATO. He's going to walk right through that door and right into Europe. So Europeans and
you think so? When he gets to Ukraine, he's going to move on into other countries.
He's going to move right through that hole. If you look on the map, look for that little Republic Moldova. He's going to go, and they have no armies. He's going to roll right through it. They're not going to fight like Ukrainians. They might fight. They're 10 times smaller than Ukraine. So Ukraine right now, very important to the West. I think West realized when Ukrainians gave such a fierce fighting, and then they woke up, even Germans woke up, who Putin had great relationship with Merkel. He made her to close nuclear plants and be reliant on Russian oil and gas. And France and Great Britain didn't do that. They were smarter. They said, we keep our nuclear plants. And so they're not as much dependent. So now world figured it out. If you don't stay with Ukraine, if you don't fight, and now he got fight, a really good fight, sanctions fight. People don't like him. And unfortunately, Russian people are going to suffer. But, take your president out. And
you think most Russians know what's going on, or some know, some don't know? And you think they will take him out? You think they could overturn him?
They can overturn him, not you and me, like a regular Russians, unless you and me snipers, and we can, but we're not gonna overturn him. But people who's around him, hopefully they smart enough, and hopefully they can do it. Yes, they can do it, because a lot of people around him also members of KGB, and something have to happen, because one way or another he's not gonna survive that long. But we have to be alert. We're not going to agree on anything he tells us. Ukraine have to be free. You have to have right to defend. Ukraine have to be freedom. And our president better wake up, President Biden, and give Ukraine those planes they've been asking from Poland. He did good, but it took him 10 days to stop buying Russian oil, gas. And listen, when they told me the United States was buying coal from Russia, I swear I thought I'm going to lose my mind. Coal. I can drive to Pennsylvania from Lake Placid, bring my shovel. I get so many buckets of oil that I can run my house for a year. We have not oil, coal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, coal. We have so much coal, we don't know what to do. Okay, people don't want it. It's dirty stuff. It's not that dirty. It's clean now. We can do it, but we don't need it. We have gas. We have the best gas in the world. We want to be independent from those maniacs like Putin or anybody else.
No doubt about it. And we don't want to be getting it from Venezuela or Iran or Saudi Arabia either. We want to get the fuel ourselves.
Not from Iran. Not from Iran. I'm for green. I don't. I like have energy done from sun. Anything alternative, fine, but we have to be independent. We cannot rely on those maniacs like Putin. Not only he's maniac, but he's killing people every day.
Yeah.
He's killing people, killing soldiers.
Unbelievable.
Ukraine lost between 13 and 1,500 soldiers. Their mom and dads all very sorrow, and Russians lost a lot. You know, it's interesting thing. The Ukrainian army, Ukrainian Ministry of Defense said hotline telephone, that if you're Russian mother and you don't know what is your son, you can call that hotline and you can say, you know, I'm calling you from Moscow. You know, my son went to that place. I don't hear from him. Any chance he might be captured or dead? Do you guys have any idea? And they take her telephone number and they will call her if they know where he is. And that's what for Russian people too. They're gonna lose their sons and daughters. And the damage to the economy already incredible, because they've been fighting for 15 days. They're losing planes, they're losing tanks. They need all this ammunition. That ammunition, half of them is old. The tactics to fight is awful. You know, that Minister of Defense should be arrested and stop that war. If I would be him, I would stop that war, because people dying for nothing. No ideology. It's all lie. It's no ideology. You know, it was communist ideology against Western ideology. Okay, fine. Now it's no ideology. It's all pure lie. It's nothing into it at all.
Craziness.
It's insane. It's insanity. To eliminate whole country. He wants to erase that country from being free. He wants to add to Russia. If West didn't wake up as quick as they did, it would be guerrilla war there for 20 years, and they would never destroy. They never would take them out. We don't want that. We want them to stop that damn war, take Russian army out. I'll go to help to rebuild that country, and a lot of my friends volunteers. But we need to stop that war, that ignorance of Putin and his hoodlums. Go home. A lot of Russian soldiers, you guys go home. You have much better life. We love you.
Yeah.
You're good people.
Otherwise, they can stay and die in Ukraine, because the Ukrainians are not going to stop.
Unfortunately, yes, they die every day. They die every day. Russian soldiers, Ukrainian soldiers dying. Yesterday, as you know, they shot army shot American journalist.
Saw that.
He was investigating refugee, and they shot him, and they injured 2 more journalists. How far is it going to go now? I mean, who else you want to die?
Yeah,
not enough children and women and soldiers. You want to level off like you did in Berlin. You know, it's the tactic they learned during World War II. But that was an enemy. It was Nazi. Yes, they were pissed off. Their families was destroyed. But now, why they attacking Ukraine? Nobody knows.
Exactly. Dmitry, thank you very much for being with us today. We're going to have you back on again shortly, because I want to hear more about what's going on. I love your insight. I liked. I remember when I was on the Luge Club. I went down the Luge a couple of times.
Oh yeah,
I remember that. I did it for about a couple months. You remember me when I went down there?
Yeah, it was
halfway up. A couple of times I would slam against the ice walls, and I was getting beat up a little bit, you know, Dmitry. But
you never lost your voice and your mind. That means you're still in good shape.
Exactly. Dmitry, thanks for being with us. I appreciate it. And good luck and prayers to Ukraine and Ukrainian people.
One more thing. When people who listen to your program, go and help Ukraine. It's plenty of non-for-profits. Go Google help Ukrainian army. Those money going to go right way. The whole world now helping out. As you know, we raised 20 Ukrainian flags on the main street of Lake Placid in solidarity with them. Now Sarnak Lake raised the flags, Upper Lake, so all Adirondack going to have flags, but we raising money, everybody sending money to all kind of organization. That's the right way to do. When Ukraine going to be free, as an American tourist, I recommend you go visit. It's a great country. Hopefully Russia will be free too.
So thank you very much, Dmitry, for all your help. And listeners, listen to that and give as you can, because those people really need it, and they're going through beyond a tough time. Dmitry, thanks a lot. We'll see you soon.
Ciao, Ed. Thank you.
Remember, listeners, any questions, always feel free to give me a call at 518-255-8854. Thanks for listening to Money Nation.